One of the hottest management ideas at the moment is holacracy. This is a concept developed by a software engineer called Brian Robertson, and it's a new way of organising. Most people, when they start companies, just sort of fall back on the ways of working that they've seen working before, that they perhaps grew up with. Brian Robertson took a very different tack. He said, the way that we're working these days is fundamentally flawed. We've got too much top-down control. We have people who aren't engaged in their work. And rather than just sort of tweak at the edges, what Brian did is he said, I'm going to come up with an entirely new set of governance principles around what organising looks like. And he's been very influential with this concept. He developed it about 5 or 6 years ago. It has now been extended to something like 300 plus organisations around the world, all of whom are trying various versions of this concept that he calls holacracy. The most famous is Zappos, which is a division of Amazon. It's an online shoe seller, and it has very famously incorporated all of the principles of holacracy and has in fact been very successful in doing so. Now, I'm not going to discuss the details of this model here. I recently interviewed Brian, and you can find a link to that interview at the foot of the page here. A couple of things I will say, though. First of all, it is work in progress. It is not by any means proven that his new way of organising actually works in a sort of a definitive way. There have been lots of people saying that it's a bit too chaotic, a bit unstructured. A few people have been saying that it only works in organisations of a couple of hundred people. But for me, that almost kind of misses the point. The real point is that if we're ever to move out of the traditional hierarchical models that we've inherited from 100 plus years ago, we absolutely need people like Brian, concepts like holacracy, as a way of pushing what is possible. And even if his model isn't the perfect one, I do believe fundamentally that the experiments that he has been putting in place in lots of organisations around the world will help us to push the practice of management forward in creative and invaluable ways.